Warlocks. Warlocks are the edgy teen of the D&D casters, known for their level 1 dipping, short rest demanding, and pact entrappening. But forget about all of that for now because one thing is far more important. They're one of my favourite classes. All the way back in WoW Classic, I chose a Warlock. Why? Because that sounds way cooler than frickin' Wizard, mom. It's not a phase. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked because today we're going to be taking a slightly deeper look at Warlocks in D&D. First introduced in D&D 3.5e for the purpose of creating a class that blends quick bursts of immense power with long-term boons that alter the features of your character, Warlocks are best defined by their pacts, the sources of their otherworldly powers. They're made with beings beyond mortal comprehension. In exchange for access to a fraction of their strength, the Warlock provides services in aid of their patron. Typically, a Warlock is one driven by an insatiable desire for knowledge that goes far beyond that what one can learn through mere bookishness and studiousness alone. Usually they seek out forbidden knowledge only provided by malicious actors. Beyond the sinister nature of their powers, Warlocks have plenty of unique features that set them apart from their casting cousins. First of all, they draw their magic not from spell casting, but through pact magic. And yes, there is a difference. But in all seriousness, this does significantly change the way that Warlock magic works. Instead of getting a number of spell slots for each level of spell that you can have, Warlocks get 1, 2, 3, and eventually 4 whole spell slots, but they will be of the same level. They go up to a maximum level of 5. This means that every spell that you cast as a Warlock is of the most powerful level that you can muster, but you get a very limited pool to choose from. This makes Warlocks an incredibly front-loaded class, so you should choose spells that have significant bonuses for upcasting them, and save your utility spells for the level 5 ones that you can get later on, so that they don't become underpowered as the scale of enemies that you're fighting increases. Or at least, that's what you should do in my opinion. As you level up, you gain numerous Eldritch invocations, and you can replace one of them each time that you level up if you outgrow an earlier one. These changes and invocations are permanent, and can be seriously impactful. They essentially make up for the lack of spell slots for a Warlock, and give them an incredible amount of versatility and an ability to extend their combat longevity if they do run out of spell slots. Sometimes they have prerequisites, and they tend to give you a spell to use at will, buff some sort of existing ability, or grant you new, demonic features beyond your comprehension beforehand. They can give some great additions to your roleplay, utility, and the uniqueness of your character build. And here are some of my favourites. You have Agonizing Blast, which lets you add your charisma modifier to your Eldritch Blasts, so you can deal amazing damage. Beast Speech, which lets you cast Speak with Animals at will whenever you want. Cloak of Flies, which allows you to turn into a buzzing horde of insects. Eyes of the Runekeeper, which lets you read all writing, no matter if you know the language or not. Gaze of Two Minds, which lets you see through the senses of another. Gift of the Protectors, which is basically the orcish racial feature to avoid death at 1 health, but for many creatures, not just yourself. Mask of Many Faces, which allows you to cast Disguise Self at will, personal favourite. Shroud of Shadow, which allows you to cast Invisibility at will. And Tomb of Levistus, which allows you to entomb yourself in ice and gain yourself HP as a reaction. As well as that, your patron isn't just for backstory and show. The bargain could never be so one-sided. In exchange for servitude, your patron grants you features as you level up based on the choices that you made. They make fantastic additions to the roleplay of your character build in a lot of different ways, or they make an amazing 1 or 3 level dip for your other classes that you're currently playing on. But really, with all the different patrons and what they offer, you can make a massive range of Warlocks, multiclass or not, and no one will look, act, or play the same as each other. No discussion of the Warlock would be complete without mentioning the level 3 pact boons. Your patron grants you a gift for your loyal service, choosing from the Pact of the Blade, which allows you to create a weapon of your choice out of thin air. Pact of the Chain, which allows you to find a special demonic familiar with incredible power. Or Pact of the Tome, which gives you access to cantrips of other casters. Additionally, as you level up, they give you Mystical Arcana, one of levels 6 through 9 at levels 11, 13, 15 and 17. These are spells that you can use once per long rest, but you only learn one of each, so choose very carefully. The final thing Warlocks get is their level 20 Eldritch Master feature. Basically, every long rest they can get their spell slots back in 1 minute instead of an hour. Pretty underwhelming if you ask me, and definitely a huge contributor as to why most Warlocks that you see are multi-classes. What I think the really special thing about Warlocks is the way that they rest. While most classes get the majority of their abilities back on a long rest, things like spell slots and rage, etc., Warlocks get their spell slots back on a short rest instead, meaning that they can throw everything out in an encounter and then rest to be back at full strength for the next one in a fraction of the time of the others, instead of having to ration spell slots across the whole day. This also applies to non-combat spells as well. The only exception to this rule is the spells you get with your Mystic Arcanum and some invocations and class features. Well, patrons come in many shapes and sizes, offering different benefits and boons based on the form that they take. This is where a lot of the flavour for your patron and class come, as the way they channel themselves through the Warlock. This lends itself really well to roleplay and matching your character to the abilities that you want them to have. The choices that you have come from the following. The Archfey, a fey creature holding secrets from before the mortal races were twinkles in the eyes of the gods. They grant features straight from the Feywild, manipulating darkness, teleportation, and plunging your opponents into a dark, illusory realm filled with fear and dread. If you are enjoying this video, please leave a like to let me know, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to check out more D&D content. The Celestial, a powerful entity of the upper planes of everlasting bliss, a being that can touch the holy light of that illuminates the universe and multiverse, though at a cost. Such exposure changes your beliefs, essentially turning you into a simp for the celestial paradises. This healing subclass allows you to heal others, resist damage, but also to blast your opponents with radiant energy as you die. This boon is tended to be granted by things like unicorns and angels. The Fathomless. Despite the fact it kind of blows chunks, this is my favourite class for theming. A thalassophobia-inducing trip into the depths has granted you its favour. An entity of the ocean, or even the ocean itself. Oh, how very eldritch. Cthulhu calls and you have answered. They gift you mastery of the ocean and its creatures. Ethereal tentacles that attack your foes and defend and heal you, as well as the ability to teleport between bodies of water. The Fiend. This patron comes from the lower planes. They are evil, with evil aims and corruptions of things they hold, including you. You may find yourself forging a pact with a pit fiend, or you may be in cahoots with one of the demon lords or ladies themselves. A tenuous contract to enter into, to be sure. They grant you the domain of fire and the hells, the ability to leech life from others, resist damage, and hurl your opponents into hell, breaking them in the process. The Genie, a twist on the traditional genie. Now you are the vessel, and the genie demands its wishes to be fulfilled. These genies control the other lesser genies and force them into servitudes, the kings and queens of genies. Depending on the type you get, the Dao, the Jinn, the Afriti, or Marid, you gain different spells of an elemental nature. You gain a vessel for your share of the genie's power, and you can enter this vessel or channel it to deal additional damage. Later, you learn to fly, draw others into your vessel, and cast any 6th level or lower spell that is castable in one action through wishing to your genie. The Great Old One. Beyond conception. Breaking the fabric of reality, an elder god that exists only in legend. Its motives are unknowable, and it holds secrets beyond that of all of humanity's greatest collections of knowledge. It may barely even know you exist. You only entered into a pact through some secret you knowingly or unknowingly came across. You gain control over psychic and eldritch powers, the ability to read and speak into the minds of others, warp reality, shield yourself from prying ears and eyes, and infect and enthrall other humanoids. The Hexblade. Dip 1 level into this to be the face and wreck everyone with charisma-based melee attacks. The Undead. No, wait, I'm kidding. I'll go back. Don't leave, don't leave. The Hexblade is a force that manifests in the stuff of shadows. Their blades are often sentient to varying degrees, and bind with mortals to help see the will of their true masters done. such as the Raven Queen and her arsenal of such hexblade weapons. The hexblade, as I said before, allows you to use charisma as your attack bonus and channel your patron's will through a weapon. You can raise your fallen foes as spectres, armour yourself against blows, and spread curses through your foe's forces. The undead, a contract with a deathless being, something beyond the natural cycles and inevitability of life and death. A being who has abandoned mortality in search of its immense ambitions. Liches and death tyrants come to mind. They use their packs, giving secrets willingly to those mortals who would do their bidding, a contract formed. They grant powers over life and death, fear and curses. You can leech the life of others, no longer need to eat, drink, or breathe. Transform into a being of pure dread and project your spirit beyond your physical form to fly, cast spells, and gain resistance to physical damage. The Warlock classes and subclasses, invocations and possible patrons lends itself to a wide variety of characters with relative ease. Each patron type could be built in numerous ways. A quick spitball of ideas exists, such as a pirate lord who pledged himself to the fathomless, having fallen in love with the sea. A gravekeeper who entered into a pact with a lich and now controls the fallen who they once buried and saw over. Or even a researcher who spent her life translating ancient texts, accidentally coming across an eldritch secret that drew her into a pact with a great old god. The culmination of her life's goal and work, putting her into an unwitting contract. The Warlock is one of my favourite classes. Not sure if that's considered a hot take or not, but if you wanted to see my thoughts on some of the hottest D&D takes on Reddit, click this video here. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment down below your thoughts on the Warlock class, and see you next time.